Have you ever walked into a room and felt all eyes on you? Not out of admiration, but something deeper, like they felt something about you they couldn't explain. According to Carl Jung, Swiss psychiatrist and founder of analytical psychology, this might be because your aura, your psychological energy field, is too powerful for most people to handle. Today, we're diving deep into Jung's theories to uncover the 13 signs your aura is intense, magnetic, and maybe even a little intimidating. Let's begin. Before we dive into the signs that your aura might be too powerful, it's important to understand the man whose theories are the backbone of this video, Carl Jung. Carl Gustav Jung was a Swiss psychiatrist and psychoanalyst who founded what we now call analytical psychology. But calling Jung just a psychiatrist would be a massive understatement. He was also a deep thinker, a spiritual philosopher, and a psychological mystic decades ahead of his time. Born in 1875, Jung began his career working closely with Sigmund Freud, the father of psychoanalysis. For a time, they were allies, united in their quest to unlock the mysteries of the unconscious mind. But eventually Jung broke away from Freud's more rigid theories, especially Freud's emphasis on sexuality as the root of all human motivation. Jung believed the human psyche was far more complex. Instead of focusing solely on instinctual drives, Jung was fascinated by the symbolic, the mythological, and the spiritual. He believed that each of us carries within us a hidden inner world, a deep unconscious realm filled with symbols, archetypes, and forgotten memories. He called this the collective unconscious, a shared psychological blueprint we all inherit. But perhaps Jung's most powerful idea was that of individuation, the journey each person must take to become their true, whole self. Individuation is the integration of the conscious and the unconscious, including the often ignored parts of ourselves Jung called the shadow. Why does this matter to your aura? Because Jung believed that the energy you carry, your psychological presence, is shaped by how well you know yourself. When someone undergoes individuation, they radiate authenticity. They've confronted their shadow, embraced their truth, and as a result, their aura becomes magnetic. And let's be real, most people aren't ready to handle that. People who haven't faced their own inner world are often unsettled by those who have. They sense that you operate on a deeper level, and it triggers something primal in them. This is what makes powerful auras intimidating. Not because you're doing anything wrong, but because you're reflecting what others refuse to see in themselves. Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." That kind of personal power is rare and often misunderstood, but it's also the reason why people with strong auras stand out, even in silence. So as we move forward, keep this in mind. Your aura is not just a mystical glow. It's a psychological force, and Carl Jung's life's work gives us the language to understand it. Now that we've explored who Carl Jung was, let's talk about what we actually mean by an aura, especially from a psychological and Jungian point of view. When most people hear the word aura, they think of colors, chakras, or metaphysical energy fields. And while that interpretation has spiritual roots, Jung approached it a little differently. To Carl Jung, the aura wasn't just a mystical glow. It was the psychological energy a person radiates. In his view, every human being carries an energy signature, a psychological force field shaped by their thoughts, emotions, unconscious patterns, and inner growth. It's not something you see with your eyes, it's something you feel. Have you ever met someone and instantly felt safe, or inspired, or even slightly uneasy? That's the aura at work. It's the unspoken presence a person brings into a space. Jung believed that a person's presence, what we're calling the aura, is shaped by their journey through individuation. The more aligned you are with your authentic self, the more your aura sharpens, and that authenticity creates psychological resonance. People either connect with it or feel threatened by it. The root of this concept lies in Jung's idea of the self, a union of your conscious identity and your unconscious shadow. People who avoid confronting their true nature often live in a kind of inner chaos, fragmented and out of alignment. But someone who has faced their fears, integrated their shadow, and accepted who they are, they project cohesion. Their energy feels stable, magnetic, even heavy. Not in a bad way, but in a way that commands attention. And this, Jung believed, is why powerful auras make people uncomfortable. It's not about arrogance or dominance. It's about presence. When you walk in alignment with your true self, you unknowingly challenge others to look at their own misalignment. And most people aren't ready for that mirror. Jung said, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves." So when your aura makes someone uncomfortable, it might not be you they're reacting to. It might be the truth within themselves that they're not ready to face. So yes, your aura can be a force of healing and inspiration, but it can also be unsettling to those who live disconnected from their inner world. It's not magic. It's not ego. It's the psychological power of a person who has done the inner work. Now that we understand how Carl Jung viewed aura as psychological presence and integrated selfhood, it's time to get personal. Here are 13 signs your aura might be too powerful for most people to handle. You make people nervous without saying a word, too. People project onto you. Jung said we see our unconscious selves in others. When you have a powerful aura, people unconsciously project their own shadows onto you. You become a canvas for their hidden fears, desires, and unresolved emotions. 3. You see through lies instantly. You don't need evidence, you just know. You can sense inauthenticity, hidden motives, and emotional masks. This can unsettle people who rely on deception to get by. 4. You're a magnet for confessions. Strangers tell you their life story. Friends open up about things they've never told anyone else. Why? Your aura exudes depth and safety. It tells people, it's okay to be real here. 5. Small talk feels painful. You're not here for weather updates or gossip. Your soul craves conversations about purpose, fear, dreams, and the unconscious. But that kind of intensity, it's rare, and most people find it overwhelming. 6. You attract people in crisis. People who are emotionally broken, lost, or seeking meaning are drawn to you like a moth to flame. Your energy feels like a grounding force, but it can be draining if you're not careful. 7. You're often misunderstood. You don't always fit into labels or expectations. People might describe you as too intense, too quiet, too mysterious. 8. People compete with you without reason, even if you're not trying to stand out. People may feel the need to one-up you. Why? Because your mere presence makes them aware of their own potential and where they're falling short. Competition often masks insecurity. 9. You don't tolerate inauthentic relationships. You can't fake smiles or pretend to be someone you're not, and you won't ask others to either. That makes shallow or manipulative people uncomfortable. Your energy demands honesty. 10. You trigger people into growth without even trying. You make people reflect on their lives. They may feel exposed or even irritated around you, but days or weeks later they'll say, "You changed something in me." That's your aura, working on a soul level. 11. You feel emotions deeply. Your emotional depth is part of your power. You don't run from pain, you explore it. You don't chase happiness, you seek meaning. And while that makes you rare, it also makes you misunderstood. 12. You're comfortable being alone. Jung believed solitude is essential for individuation. You don't need constant validation. In fact, your most powerful transformations happen in silence. This independence can feel intimidating to people who fear being alone. 13. You know who you are and who you're not. You don't need to prove yourself. Your identity isn't built on trends or approval. It's rooted in truth, shadow work, and self-acceptance. This clarity gives your aura strength and makes it unforgettable. So if you recognized yourself in these signs, understand this. Your aura isn't too much. It's just too real for those still hiding from themselves. Carl Jung taught us that true transformation begins inside. When you embrace your shadow, live with purpose, and walk in alignment with your authentic self, your energy becomes undeniable. Not everyone will understand it, but those who do, they'll never forget you. So your aura is powerful. It turns heads. It triggers people. But how do you protect that energy? How do you make sure you're not constantly absorbing other people's chaos or burning yourself out? Let's break it down. Here are 5 ways to protect and balance your aura, rooted in both Jungian psychology and spiritual practice. 1. Know your emotional baseline. Jung believed in becoming conscious of unconscious patterns. If you don't know your own emotional baseline, your normal energetic state, you'll mistake other people's anxiety, anger, or sadness as your own. Every day, take 5 minutes to check in. What am I feeling right now that actually belongs to me? 2. Practice energetic boundaries. Just as we have physical boundaries, we also need energetic ones. Jung called it psychic hygiene, being mindful of what enters your mental and emotional space. Say no when you need to. Leave the room, protect your peace. Not everyone deserves access to your energy. 3. Embrace shadow work. The more unconscious baggage you carry, the more holes your aura will have. Shadow work, facing your fears, guilt, anger, and old wounds, is how you seal those holes. It turns vulnerability into strength. Ground yourself daily. A powerful aura needs grounding, or it can become unstable, overstimulated, reactive, anxious. Grounding doesn't have to be complex. Go barefoot, sit with nature, breathe deeply. Write what you feel. Jung spent much of his later life in nature because he believed that silence and stillness connect us back to the self. 5. Protect your aura. Through ritual, spiritual rituals are symbolic ways of communicating with your unconscious. Jung studied this deeply. Lighting candles, using cleansing herbs, visualizing light. These aren't just woo. They're powerful messages to your psyche. This space is mine. This energy is sacred. Your aura is your emotional and spiritual fingerprint. When you treat it with reverence, it becomes more than protection. It becomes power. You don't need to shrink your light. You just need to protect its frequency. And as Carl Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. Now you choose consciously. Let's be honest, having a powerful aura isn't easy. You feel everything, you're misunderstood. You walk through a world that often wants you to shrink, to be quieter, more digestible, more normal. But let me tell you something, your energy is not a problem. It's a reflection of the inner work you've done, the shadow you've faced, the truths you've embraced, and the peace you've earned. You didn't stumble into this presence. You built it, and yes, people will project onto you. They'll envy you, misread you, even fear you. But that's not your burden to carry. Your job is not to make others comfortable, it's to be true. Carl Jung taught that the path to wholeness requires confrontation with the unconscious. When you do that, when you integrate all that you are, light and dark, you become someone rare, someone whole, someone real, someone unforgettable. So if your aura makes people uncomfortable, remember this. It's not because you're too much. It's because you're undeniably you. And that kind of authenticity, that kind of self-possession, it's the most radical, world-changing energy there is. If this message spoke to your soul, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who needs to remember their power. And if you're on this path of becoming, we see you.